Hello, my name is Kailee Mabe.
And I'm Logan McCarn, and this is our History 132 Final Project, Part 2. For our project, we researched the Korean War. We interviewed my great-grandfather, who fought in the Korean War from May to October of 1952. He is now 87 years old, and although he did not fight on the front line, he did help in other ways. The Korean War started in 1950 when North Korea invaded South Korea, crossing the 38th parallel. The war started after Korea was split into northern and southern regions. North Korea was communist, while South Korea was not. These differences created tension among the Koreans, eventually starting a war that lasted until 1953. Led by Commander Douglas MacArthur, the United States entered South Korea to help give the Korean government troops cover and support.
As we were doing this interview, we expected to increase our knowledge of the Korean War. Our overall experience was very touching and emotional. Seeing how passionate Mr. Everhart was regarding his time served provided a new light to our take on the war. We expected for this to be an eye-opening experience, which it definitely was. We also expected to hear about the Korean War from a different perspective and see what it was like to experience the war firsthand. It was a privilege to have the opportunity to talk with Mr. Everhart.
It was really neat to get real-life stories about the war instead of just the factual evidence that we learned from our history teachers and history textbooks, because it wasn't just facts about the war, when it started, why it happened. They were real stories, and I think that was really neat. This interview provided us with real-life experiences to add to our understanding of the war. It also provided a personal touch that added emotional value. The interview allowed us to understand the various roles other than fighting in the Korean War. Mr. Everhart's stories describe just what the United States did during the war and how the troops worked together to provide support for not only South Korea but for the Americans as well. He told us that they were going in to help another country out, just like they did in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, and all.
Although the stories were not necessarily surprising, it was very neat to learn about the true experiences and how they affected someone that experienced the war firsthand. Mr. Everhart said that he hauled supplies and maintenance to the fighting forces on the front line. And again, the stories were not necessarily surprising, but the emotion that Mr. Everhart showed really helped us understand how wars can affect people and their thoughts about life and people in general can be changed by experiencing war.
He did get very emotional, and it was really touching to see that, especially after all these years. It's been a while since the Korean War and since he's been there, but he's still so affected by it. I thought that was really neat. From this project, we think that this was a very good experience to have. We were able to understand how Americans were able to provide help during the Korean War and the different types of jobs there were for people to do. We learned just how much a war can affect someone and also a veteran's thoughts on the war itself. Mr. Everhart told us that he does not like war and is all for peace. We would recommend this project to anyone who is interested in learning more about wars and how they can change someone's life or their views of life forever. It was a great educational opportunity to have, and it was neat getting to learn about the Korean War from someone who fought in it. He told us about this time that they had a specific job for him, and he thought that was dangerous, and he was kind of concerned because he was like, I need to get home, I have a family, I have a life at home, this is dangerous, and he was kind of scared. And then at the last minute, the morning of the day that he was supposed to go do that, I'm not really sure what it was, I'd have to watch the video again. But that morning, they switched the jobs, and they said, actually, we need you to do this instead. And he told us how relieved he was because he thought he would be safer. But after it was said and done, he learned that the thing that they had him do instead was actually more dangerous than the initial job. He talked about how he was kind of scared, but he was relieved at the end of it.
After interviewing Mr. Everhart, it definitely made me appreciate the soldiers and everyone who's fought in wars more, because you can definitely see what an impact it had on him, and not just emotionally but physically. And it just made me see how people really do put their lives on the line and how it really affects them.
This concludes our project. Thank you for watching.